Hello and welcome to IATEFL Live, coming to you straight from the IATEFL Conference in Edinburgh. You can see the excitement on my face, and of course, I'm very happy because I've been reuniting with our ELT community and with my fantastic team, Nikki and Anka, who are here behind the scenes, and you will get to see them later. Now, whether you're joining us online or from the UK or from any other country around the world, we are happy to have you here because over the next 5 days, we will be your window into the conference. So that means that we will be bringing you speakers from around the world with different topics and a variety of sessions. And not only that, we will also have some cultural elements for you in the show and stuff from our social program. So we are very happy to have you. Feel free to write your comments in the comment section. This is going to be a very interactive show as well, and we will be happy to have your thoughts and, of course, your ideas as well. So join our IATEFL Live community here at the IATEFL Conference in Edinburgh. You're with us. Welcome to IATEFL Edinburgh. So let's start the show.
Everybody, welcome to Edinburgh and IATEFL. Anka, how are you? I haven't seen you for a whole year.
I know. It's amazing to be here. Nikki aside, it's amazing to be here. I've missed all of it.
Absolutely.
But also to be here in Scotland, that's like extra special, I think.
It really is. And everything, it's just the most beautiful city, and also the weather. You couldn't ask for better. We've sunshine. It's really warm.
No rain so
no
far.
rain at
It's
all.
quite warm. It's everything we weren't expecting, but are really, really happy with. And also, I really like that. I'm sorry to everybody who's not here at the moment, but it's really nice that the venue is quite close to the city. So you just have like a 10, 15-minute walk, and you're down the Royal Mile, and shopping, and just, I don't know, it feels good.
It feels very good. Mind you, there isn't that much time for shopping because we're
here.
so busy and there is so much to do and so much to see.
And so many people to talk to.
Yeah, there really are.
Even this morning, just talking to delegates queuing up to get in, I've heard so many interesting stories, met so many people from different countries. I'm excited.
Absolutely. And we've got 4 days of this, so until Friday. So make sure that you join us every afternoon from 3 until 5 UK time. And we'll be talking to different people who are presenting to give you a taste of the conference.
And you don't want to miss that. Trust me.
Definitely not. Anka, what are you looking forward to from this week?
From this week? Oh, I was hoping you'd say today.
All right, well, let's start with today.
Enough. Well, today we've got some really interesting guests to talk to that I'm really quite looking forward to. Some really interesting topics for the whole week. I don't know, just more of everything. It's like I said, I always, as soon as I'm here, somehow within 10 minutes I've spoken to someone, I'm completely inspired, and I can't wait to go home. I don't want to say go home, but apply everything and do stuff. This is one of those energizing, activating sort of moments of the year for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're in the really lucky position as well that we get to talk to the presenters. So even though we can't necessarily attend every single session, we get to find out what happens.
I mean, but that's so right. Like the plenary will be up in 2 hours, and watch it because it promises to be the best one. And unfortunately, I didn't get to go, but I got to have a one-on-one with the speaker. I think that's a luxury for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
And she is inspiring. So I'm going to watch it like after the live show, and I think you should too. What are you looking forward to, Nikki?
Everything. I just love being here. I love the energy. I love the people, catching up with friends, learning new things. And yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic. And Edinburgh as well.
But IATEFL, there's something about IATEFL. Just like yesterday, Nikki and I were doing some pre-recordings and walking around the venue, and we learned how last names in Denmark are passed on. Now, this doesn't seem like vital information, but honestly, I'm a bit of a language nerd. These kind of things make my day. And to just start with that, like there's 4 more days of all these sort of language debates, and I don't know, I just feel good being surrounded by my people,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And from absolutely every single corner of the globe. I don't think that there's a country necessarily that isn't represented. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah. It's like it's global, but then again, there's so much to learn. Did you know that Minger refers to both a cheese and a smelly woman? Again, something I recently learned. This is what I love about IATEFL. It's like put everybody with a love for the language together, and I don't know, you just pick up the most interesting stuff.
I did learn that yesterday, that Minger is a cheese here, and it has a different meaning in colloquial English. Yeah, definitely. Interesting. Didn't think I was going to learn that, and I did.
Yes, well, exactly. So that's cheers to that. Things we didn't know we're going to learn, but I think we have 2 hours planned with stuff that you didn't know you wanted to learn, but you're going to be happy you've learned. So stick around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you know Edinburgh Castle is built on an extinct volcano? This iconic fortress sits atop Castle Rock and offers stunning views of the city. Explore its ancient walls, where you'll find the Scottish crown jewels and the Stone of Destiny, used in the coronation of Scottish kings. Every day, except Sundays, you can hear the 1 o'clock gun, a tradition that dates back to 1861. So, when you're in Edinburgh, take a moment to explore this historical gem and enjoy the breathtaking scenery.
And I'm back here with our first guest of today, Urbashi. I'm saying it right?
Yes, that's correct, Urbashi.
Can I ask you to introduce yourself first?
Sure. So I've been teaching English for around 10 years now, and I've taught both language and literature, international curriculums, and currently I'm teaching adult students from all over the world, from different walks of life, and I teach them the English language and professional skills. Recently, I also did my research in Canada with Simon Fraser University, which was related to language teaching and the importance of sustainability in language teaching.
Oh, wow. Where are you based, if I may ask?
So I'm in Canada, in a very small city called Regina. It's extremely cold. It was minus 40 there 2 months back.
Minus 40. Gee, and we're talking about Scottish weather being bad. Like,
Yes.
this must feel like summer.
Yes, it is actually quite pleasant, except the wind, if I may say.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, there is a lot of wind. But wow, you teach people from all over the world.
Yes,
And you're here now to do a talk.
correct.
Can I ask you a bit about that?
Absolutely. So this presentation is actually based on my master's research, and the talk is called Eco-Responsibility in Language Teaching, and we are going to explore indigenous pedagogies as an alternative curricular framework. Because when we think about, if you look closely at the 17 SDGs, they are very Eurocentric, right? And they do not ever think about including the marginalized voices that are closest to nature, who have lived with nature for centuries, and they kind of are a part of nature.
Can you give me an example, a practical example of one of those
Sure.
marginalized voices?
Absolutely. So my research was with the indigenous communities of Canada, for instance. Not many people know, but Canada was originally the land of the indigenous communities.
Mhm.
And then the settlers came in and they were evaded, colonized. Unfortunately, not many people know about the residential schools as well. So it's unfortunately a very sad history.
Yeah.
So my purpose is to bring their knowledge and pedagogy into the mainstream education so that we create an alternative way of thinking about the way we view the world.
And how is it different from the SDGs and how we view sustainability?
For instance, in the SDGs, yes, we do have water, we do have climate action, but the problem is the term itself that we use is education for sustainable development. Now, if we think of where we are going today's world, we cannot take in any more development. We need to take development out of the picture. And only when we stop that, then only we can start sustaining what we have.
So you're saying take development out of sustainable development, start doing it. So let's stop nurturing, thinking about it, but let's actually
No,
do it.
what I'm talking about is development in terms of when we are talking about things like, oh, let's build this. Let's continue spending more money on developing this land. But what we need to do is stop developing the land, for instance,
Mhm.
let the land be so that it grows on its own.
Yeah.
Because nature has its own cycle.
Yeah.
So development is an antithesis to the word sustainability in itself.
Yes, in the context of building, yes.
Yes,
And we need to start doing this in our language teaching.
exactly. But without thinking of sustainable development, but education only when you think about sustainability in terms of how to sustain ourselves in the planet with the earth.
Yeah. Can you give a practical example of that?
A practical example. All right. So, for instance, when we think about land,
Yes.
yes. So for us, land is more of an object, right? It's a resource. We think of building stuff on the land.
We do.
Correct? Yes. But then if we stop treating land as a resource and as an object, we start thinking of a land as an entity who have the same enterprise like a human agency because they give life, for instance.
I have heard about, like, in certain countries, land becoming its own legal entity.
That's right. So in New Zealand, for example,
Yeah.
the community, one of the communities there, they just named the Iotara, the river, as the water has its own agency now. So they just can't do any kind of building projects on it.
But that's lovely, isn't it?
Yes.
Like, for the planet, that's
Absolutely.
massive.
Yes.
Because also, like, normally if I don't know, drop something in a river, or I wouldn't, I hope, but like if I would, that wouldn't actually be anything. Littering, maybe, if there's legislation against it, but in this case I'd be harming another legal entity,
Exactly.
so it's easier to take action.
Yeah, because there's life in the water, and also water gives you life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's important that we need to start valuing that.
correct.
Why do you think it's important that we need to include this in language teaching? Because there's so many language teachers who say, great, yes, but I'm a language teacher. My class should be about language, not about sustainability, not about equality, not about any of the societal things that we should focus on.
Well, as language teachers, we actually have a lot of power, which people don't realize.
We have a lot of power.
We do, because we can literally talk or teach about anything. We are not
True.
restricted by a specific curriculum, and it's up to us what we decide to teach in our classrooms.
That's very true, and I've often said, in that way, I'm happy to be an English teacher because I can discuss anything in my classes.
Correct.
But why should we discuss? I mean, I'm sure that there's guys in my classroom who prefer to discuss cars, for example, rather than sustainability. Why should we discuss sustainability?
Well, if there isn't the planet Earth to sustain the human life in a couple of years, then they do need to start thinking about it.
Yeah,
Because we are not, unfortunately, when we think of ourselves, we think that we are above and beyond nature, but we are not. When we die, we do become a part of nature itself. So we are not going to leave anything for our future generations if we don't start acting on sustainable ways of living.
and this is one of those things that you've learned for your master thesis from those indigenous
Um,
people.
For what I learned from them is how to live with the land. And the teachings are embedded from nature because they do not view nature as a resource, as an object. They view nature as something, as a living being, as people. They use the word people. I'm translating it in English, but in their language, they use the word people for nature and animals and any other wildlife or plants for that matter.
But that is so important. I don't think I have to tell any language teacher or language person here that our language, our word choices matter.
Absolutely. A lot of what the scholars that I've been reading, this is what they talk about. There is a link between the language that we use, our thoughts, and our actions.
Yes. So nature is not just nature, it's an entity, it's a person, it's
Exactly. And if we start viewing them as another person, our worldview would change. We would stop treating nature the way we treat right now.
important, I
Yes.
think. And then also important that we start doing this in our classes.
Absolutely, yes. Because when we think about, if we want to go beyond the word sustainability, right, it's also about developing a mindset which is about ecological consciousness.
Yeah.
If you do not have that consciousness, you're not going to imbibe these values easily. So we first need to have that consciousness.
And make sure they get these things in class when they're younger.
That's the younger, the better.
Very good. One last question to everybody who's looking at us from home.
All right.
What is something they can do tomorrow in their classes that you say it's important to bring this in? It's important to discuss this topic or this lesson.
I think one of the easiest things to do would be to start with, take your students outside the four walls of the classroom. Take them outside, and maybe if you have a forest or a garden, and just let them breathe and feel the air, let them touch the trees, let them feel the texture, let them smell the trees, and let them just develop that connection that they have been missing, because they live in a world which is filled with technology, and the connection that we have with nature isn't there anymore. So that's the first thing that you could do. And in fact, you can start every lesson with that 10-minute activity where you take them outside, just let them breathe and feel what's around them without their phones, of course.
Very important.
Yeah,
because otherwise that relationship with nature tends to turn into selfies and
exactly.
pictures.
Exactly.
And we should really, mindfulness basically, we should
Yeah.
really touch, feel, experience our
Exactly.
environment.
Yes.
And I think that's a really good start. If we're talking about we need to do more with sustainability, we teach sustainability from a classroom where there is hardly any nature. Like, we're lucky
Yeah.
if we have plants in pots in our classroom.
Exactly.
So I think it's a really good start to just say,
Yeah.
let's meet nature first. It is a person after all.
Yeah.
Let's meet nature first, and then let's go back into the
Yeah.
classroom and see what we can do.
Exactly. So ignite your senses, because what we forget, the sensory learning is one of the basic forms of learning.
True. Sensory learning. Love it. Already learned something new.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Go.
Okay, hello, my name is Kim van Koenen. I'm from the Netherlands and I teach at the University of Groningen and NHL Stenden, University of Applied Sciences, and I'm here today at the Special Interest Group for English for Specific Purposes. What we're talking about a lot is AI. It's a big topic right now when it comes to how to use it properly and also how to teach our students to use it. And we've also been talking a lot about critical literacies in that special interest group. And we're going on for this afternoon as well. So goodbye.
Hello, and we're back, and I'm delighted to be joined by Andrew Walkley. Hello.
Hello.
How are you? I haven't seen you for a while.
I know. Probably about 3 IATEFLs ago.
I was thinking, do you know what? Maybe Liverpool was the last time I saw
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I did have one which I missed because of COVID. Like, I was actually in Belfast, but I
Oh,
spent
so
the
you
whole
actually had COVID.
I spent the whole
Oh,
week
no, you're
in a
joking.
hotel room instead.
That's a really expensive way to be ill.
You know,
Oh,
those times have passed.
those were the days.
Yeah.
Oh, but you're here with us in Edinburgh.
Yes.
What's new? What have you been working on?
Well, at the moment, I'm basically at home, mainly writing, I suppose, teacher development courses.
Perfect.
And do free webinars and things like that. Not
you
really doing textbooks at the moment.
Have you
but
given that a rest for the moment?
Yeah, because we did the 3rd edition of Outcomes. We finished that just like a year and a half ago, I suppose. And yeah, it's kind of 2 years, quite intensive
Writing.
work. So I think that's enough.
Yeah, you need a little bit of a rest. And
Yes.
have you got summer school coming up?
Yes, we've got
Ooh.
2 weeks of our summer course. Yeah, so we take people around London. That's all very nice.
Oh, that's brilliant. Are there still places? Can people sign up?
Yes, there are. Yes, lexicallab.com. You can do our teaching lexically. In fact, we are over IATEFL giving 30% discounts on any of our online courses.
Oh, well, there you go.
Just use the code IATEFL. It's very simple.
Hey, what's not to like?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I actually
Okay.
remembered to give the marketing as well. Most unusual.
Well done, Andy. That's great. So hang
I'm
on. So
improving.
you've got the summer school to look forward to, and also you gave your talk this morning.
I did.
How did it go?
It was nice. Yeah. It was in quite a large room and a more reduced audience.
That's
Quite
like
a few
more
few
intimate
spaces.
affair.
But
No,
yeah,
that's quite nice.
we had a nice conversations.
So
People
for
were participating. It was good.
well done. That's lovely, and it's especially nice to kind of have it out of the way
It
early
is.
on,
That's
so
the
that you
first
can
time
relax.
I think I've done it. It's the first session, and it's like
Done.
perfect.
So for people at home watching, what was the topic of your talk this morning?
So it was about becoming a non-native speaker teacher, because with Lexical Lab we've been started doing Spanish classes, which I started doing partly because I like teaching beginners, and also partly because people say our lexical-ish approach doesn't work for low levels, and I like to prove people wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, so and I have that experience myself, and obviously most of the people who come to do our training courses are non-native speaker teachers. So I think it was feeling what it's like a little bit in a small way.
Which I think, I mean, it's super important because certainly the students I work with, the majority are Czech native speakers.
Yeah.
Hello, if anyone's watching. But also I completely understand, or I sympathize with having to teach another language, but I haven't done it.
Yes.
So I also kind of think it's massively important
Yeah.
to feel that, so that you know what it must feel like for, you know, for them to get up
Yeah,
and
I think
deliver
maybe
something.
it does make you at least, I mean, I would say most of the time it kind of confirms some things I've been thinking about anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But also some kind of maybe shifted me a little bit more in certain directions because of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what was there a message from the talk this morning? Something that you wanted to convey or the audience to take away?
Well, I mean, I think the first aspect was maybe not being, you know, getting away from the whole accuracy kind of fluent, accurate model that we all seem to aim for, and is underlying so many methodologies. But the reality is most of the students we teach will never get there, and probably don't even want to get there. You know, a B1 level is actually what a lot of students will stick at, and it's a reasonable level, but it is an inaccurate level. So that makes you think, well, why would we be obsessing about accuracy in order to get people to that level? So it was much more about thinking about, rather in terms of not just grammar accuracy, but lexical accuracy. Like, you know, having exactly the right collocation that other people might use. I would be moving away from that and thinking more about just enabling them to say what they want to say, which is a slightly different approach, I suppose. Yeah. And that would be the core element. And I think actually that feeds into, for a non-native speaker teacher, that was easier for me in a sense, because I could use translation. It didn't matter if my translation wasn't what a native speaker might say. It served as that communication. And I think that was kind of where I was at with it.
Did you feel more at ease as a teacher doing that? Was it more, less pressure in a way?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think so.
And then it makes it perhaps more enjoyable for you, which then they'll see.
Yeah,
and
no, obviously, I think there's a bit of a mixture between also just teaching low levels. That I think there's the way that it's taught in many courses is a bit restricted and not helpful for them to get to a place where they might be able to express themselves and talk about themselves. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that, you know, that was a way of it was a good experience, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's food for thought, certainly.
Thank you.
Andy, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to
pleasure.
seeing you around the conference. Enjoy.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy.
Bye.
Good afternoon and welcome to, well, Anka's Book Club. This year, instead of talking about sustainability, I think I talk to you about my other big passion, books. Why books? Well, as you might know, Edinburgh, the place where we all are now, is also home to the Writers' Museum. There's 3 writers that are central to the museum and Scottish literature, and the most influential and famous by far would be Sir Walter Scott. Now, Sir Walter Scott was a man of great influence in his time. He was born in 1771. But just to show you how influential this man still is, one of his books, one of his novels called Waverley, you might not have heard of, but everyone in this city will have heard of Waverley Station, the main train station here in Edinburgh. One of his best known books, I'd say, is Ivanhoe. Ivanhoe definitely, if not the book, our students would have seen the film. We would have seen the film. Now, I have one of his books here, just to make sure I'm not giving you any fake information about his biography. And as I said, Sir Walter Scott was born in 1771. Now, in the first 40 years of his life, he was called to the bar, became sheriff deputy and principal clerk of session. And by 1812, so 40 years into his life, he was able to afford this not so tiny house here in Scotland called Abbotsford House. Abbotsford House you can still visit if you have time. Definitely see if you can. And just to show what an interesting life he led, in 1820 he created a baronet. In 1826 he became utterly and completely ruined. Yet by the time of his death in 1832, 6 years later, he'd paid off almost all of his debts. Now that is what I would call very impressive indeed. So if you haven't read Ivanhoe yet, definitely do. If you haven't read any of his lesser known works, he's written so much that this would be an invitation to all of you to check out one of his books.
Hello and welcome back. And I'm joined now by Helen Allen and Harry Kucha, who are here to talk to us about the debate that Cambridge is, or the discussion that Cambridge is putting on tomorrow, I believe. Welcome, you two. How's it going, first of all?
I've been enjoying the conference so far, really enjoying myself.
And Helen, how
and
about
I've just
you?
arrived today. I had a really pleasant train ride up the east coast there. It was really
That must
lovely.
have been, yeah,
Yes,
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And also we've got the weather.
Oh yeah. You don't get that all the time, so yeah, it's been amazing to have warm weather up in Edinburgh. It's just beautiful.
It's all perfect. It's brilliant. Okay, so tell us, why did Cambridge choose to talk about the purpose of education at IATEFL tomorrow?
Okay, so we're at IATEFL. I think it's really important for everybody working in education to look outside at that bigger picture to the wider landscape, you know, sort of like what's happening in the world, what does that world look like now, and how is it changing? And what does that really mean for our students? You know, what challenges are they facing in their lives? What knowledge and skills do they need to be able to live sort of happy and fulfilling lives? So it's really around the reason we're doing it is because we think it's a really good opportunity. Everyone comes to IATEFL for their own professional development. It's a great opportunity for us to focus in on that bigger picture and think about the why we're doing what we do.
Absolutely. So this is going to be a panel discussion. Can you tell us who the panelists are?
Yeah, so we've got a fantastic panel. Harry's on the panel. We've got Phil Hazel. Phil works for the Cambridge Institute for Sustainability Leadership. She works with businesses in sustainability education, and she's also been an English language teacher herself with the British Council and with Cambridge. And Phil's going to be talking about the environmental side, environmental change. We've got Peter Watkins, so he focuses on teacher professional development, on pedagogy and materials design. And Peter's going to be talking about societal change and skills beyond English language. We've got Harry. Do you want to tell us what you're going to be talking about?
Well, I'll be talking about the relationship that languages share and the people who come with those languages, the students we teach. So my session would be around the intersection between English language and other languages, particularly in multilingual context, and how we can harness those linguistic resources that our students bring to connect them with the community. So together with local communities, we can deal with local issues and find context appropriate solutions to the local issues that eventually become really global issues and shape the way the world works.
Wow, that's amazing.
Cool. And then our final panelist is Nikki Hockley. So Nikki specializes in technology in English language learning. So it might be online or blended or hybrid or digital literacies or AI. So she's going to talk about that other side of technological change.
That is quite the lineup. Okay, so let me ask Harry, let me ask you, what is it about the topic that is particularly of interest to you?
Well, when Cambridge contacted me with the topic, I said, yes, I would go for it, because I work a lot with English language teachers. And very often the perception is that as language teachers, our job is to talk about language. But language teachers do not exist in a vacuum. We work in school systems where there are lots of other disciplinary areas within the curriculum, and that kind of connects us with all other teachers and connects what our students learn in the English language classroom with what they learn in other disciplinary areas. Now, we can't continue to live in silos. Our world is beginning to is become something else, and we need collective effort. And we need to see the bigger picture. Why are we teaching English, and why are other colleagues teaching other disciplines? What is the overall goal of what we want to achieve? So I think this topic is a starting point for us to really see where we as language educators connect with other areas of learning, but also with other areas of life, because we can solve global issues, we can solve the problems of the world if we work in silos. So I thought it was a really good topic area to explore, that connections that exist between the different things we teach, but also between the different people involved in education, so we could rethink our common goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And something, well, I suppose the question everyone's asking is, why should delegates go? What can they expect to hear?
Okay, so we're living in a time of change in a volatile world. Okay, this session really focuses in on critical awareness and the value of the human. We're all humans. We're human teachers. We have human students, right? So it's really thinking about the path that we want to take, the agency that we have as individuals to shape what happens in the classroom, and the opportunities that English does provide. I mean, obviously it has baggage as well, but it also provides opportunities. So it's about agency and thinking about where we want to go as educators in English language teaching and learning.
Well, okay. Well, I wish you both the very, very best of luck with that. That should be an absolutely amazing discussion in the afternoon. One final question before we go. What does IATEFL mean for you guys? Because I think you attend every year. What does it mean? How could you sum it up for you?
For me, it means, we were just talking about this a little bit, it's about community. It's about saying faces you recognize, but it's also about seeing new people and bringing new ideas into the mix. So we have things that we see every year, but it's, for me, the special things is the learning from the people who are new, the people who bring something different from the younger generation as well.
Yeah,
Lovely.
Community is the word I was going to use, but also very importantly for me, the connections, the human connections, because we are not, before becoming professionals, we are first and foremost human beings.
Absolutely.
And IATEFL gives us that opportunity to connect with friends and make new friends and create those friendships across nations, across cultures, across races, which is, I think, really fundamental for global peace. So for me, whenever I come here, I'm looking forward to making new friends from places that I might never go to, and learning about them and keeping those connections over the years, and we're communicating with them. So for me, this is a really wonderful opportunity to travel the world without traveling the world.
That's an absolutely wonderful way of putting it. Yeah, completely agree with what both of you have said. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. All the very best tomorrow, and enjoy the conference.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for the opportunity. Thanks.
Hi. Hi. Hello. Hello and welcome to the show. And I'd like to introduce our next guest. Oh, that's me.
Our next guest is our lovely and fabulous neighbor. Now, with the setup of the studio this year, you don't actually see what's all around us. We'll try to rectify that in one of our extra videos. But our lovely, lovely neighbor is here.
Do you know my name?
I have no idea. Could you tell
Okay.
the people who are watching your name?
Yes, my name is IATEFL Rob Howard. And I'm here representing IATEFL Poland, of which I'm the president.
But you do a lot.
Yes, I do.
So I'm here with the president of IATEFL Poland. Now that's like really.
Do you have a recording of Hail to the Chief? Okay, you can mix that in.
Insert that. Okay. What else do you do?
Well, doing quite a few things this time. I did a talk at the LT-SIG PCE the other day about AI. And I also spoke at the IATEFL Associates Day, which we had the other day, talking about some of the things we've done at IATEFL Poland. And what I'm here today for, what I'm the neighbor of this wonderful live session, is the Independent Authors and Publishers Group, which we've been doing for 8 years now, which is a collective of all different publishers and authors that normally wouldn't be able to afford to have a booth here. So what I did is with Dorothy Zemark years ago, we were talking about, it's too bad we couldn't do this. And we actually put in a proposal to TESOL originally and asked them if they would give us a break and help us, do this. We got no answer. And I said, well, I wrote up a nice letter and everything. Let me send it to IATEFL. And IATEFL was extremely supportive, and they have been every single year. I have to thank John, Louise, and the board and the trustees, because they really helped us get started with this. And it's giving the opportunity for instance, there we have people that only have 2 books that they've authored and published. Some have 3, some have 8, some have a lot. And it gives us an opportunity to come here and show off what we do to the people, which normally we could never afford to do.
No, I can imagine, because we'll do a video on the exhibition later, but you'll see the big stands and you see all the big publishers and they have their money. So if you're lucky enough to write for any of the big books, there's advertisement everywhere, there's a booth, there's a talk, and otherwise let's be honest, you can't afford that. No. Publishing is not going to make you that rich. So this is like...
I do have that castle in Edinburgh that I live at.
He's also really funny. I didn't pay him, by the way, to say nice things or to be funny. But
yes, by the way, we need to talk about that. I'm kidding.
So very noble. And I love the backstory that this was actually a recycled letter for someone else who turned down the proposal. I think that's the J.K. Rowling story, right? True magic is first torn down. Oh, yes.
We love a good story. You've heard some great stories, which we can't repeat here. But the story of how this happened, I was doing a plenary in Ecuador for TESOL Ecuador, TESOL, whatever it is. I think about 9 or 10 years ago.
Yes.
So was Dorothy. I'd never met Dorothy before. And I was just putting together my first book. And I knew that Dorothy had done books before. So I asked her, I said, I'm having trouble with the formatting and everything else. What advice do you have? And she said, where's your laptop? So I got my laptop and she sat there and in 5 minutes, she totally formatted my book for me and had it ready to publish on Amazon.
Wow.
And, we were sitting there and we said, it's too bad that there isn't anybody who's around that can do this for people that are getting started. And that's where we came up with the idea of putting together the Independent Authors and Publishers so we could help other people to get started. So how's that for a backstory?
I love that. And it worked out because you're a bestseller author.
Yeah, bestseller. I'm a good seller. Good seller author.
Good sellers are the best. And you're also the president of IATEFL Poland.
Yes, I am.
What's that like?
It's a lot of fun. What we do is, our biggest thing is we do our annual conference every September. We had a great one last year, and we have our upcoming one in Łódź in September. And it's nice because I get to experiment with things. And being that my background was from business, I did a lot of things different last year. Like we had 20 plenaries over 3 days.
20 plenaries?
Yes. And we brought in huge names. And, we just try to do things differently because it's becoming harder and harder to get new members because younger people don't feel they need to join associations.
True.
Associations around the world are struggling to get money from sponsors, to get money from membership. And we tried to be creative. And I've noticed that over the years, a lot of teacher associations have been shrinking. Some have actually gone away. And we've managed to maintain and hold our own, which makes me happy.
How?
Because we try to be creative. We try to offer a lot to our members. We're doing a lot more. We have a webinar every week with big name speakers. Speakers that you have speaking here will do webinars for us every week.
Every week?
Yeah, every week.
And that's available for every member?
Well, I wish for every member, we make it open to the public. So anybody, we have teachers from around the world watch our webinars.
This is not really advertisement for joining an association, but definitely check out the website because even as a non-member, there's a weekly webinar to listen to.
Yeah, and this is one of the beautiful things about IATEFL and, we being IATEFL Poland, which came out of IATEFL.
Yeah.
We're trying to help teachers all over the world, and that's the whole idea of everything that we do. And for instance, if you're watching this, one of the things that we decided to do to help Ukrainian teachers for this conference, we're giving the Ukrainian teachers that live in Ukraine, we're giving them, it's probably 65 or 75% off of the conference fee so they can come to the conference because
to this
nobody's for our
IATEFL
Poland one. Because it's been difficult for them to have conferences in Ukraine.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Condition. And so it's easier for them to come to us in Poland. So to make it easy and affordable for them, we're giving this huge discount, which is what we offer to students. So, it's a little something. We are a charity too, and, we're worried about maintaining ourselves, but it's our way of being able to give back to the community that supports us over the years.
That's a lovely notion.
Oh,
and that's what you were talking about yesterday.
That was one of the things that I spoke about in the association. And also finding creative ways of getting the sponsors that are here to help out and support.
Spoilers? What is a creative way to get a sponsor? Like, I only know the regular way. You just call them and say pretty please, and hopefully they'll go for it.
I trick them. No. What
Love
I do, for instance, I did something online. We have a lot of our exhibitors and sponsors have courses. And I had the idea one day, well, why don't we do a webinar that's obviously commercial?
Yeah.
And have our people that are doing courses and giving courses to have them talk for a half an hour, tell about what their course is. And in return, so, we're giving them free advertising.
Sure.
And they're giving us exposure for us. But in return, they had to offer a free course to one of the people who was watching. So we had 10 sponsors come up and they talked about their courses. We had 9,000 euros worth of prizes that we raffled off. And I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but we ended up with 200 people online.
That's quite good. Online, it's really hard. Like, people sign up, but they will show up.
Oh, sure.
But to get 200 people online to actually show up, impressive.
And so we gave away the prizes, and we're going to do that again probably in a month or two.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, negotiation, also business background, like that's really smart. That's like a win-win-win-win-win situation.
Exactly. Everybody won. The only person that lost is me because I had to do all the work. No, but I gained.
But did you win any course?
Personally, no. No,
then
that
you
wouldn't
did
be
not
fair.
win. Yeah,
That wouldn't
true,
be fair.
true.
But
That would not be fair.
I did win the good feeling of knowing that I was helping sponsors, helping IATEFL Poland, and helping teachers everywhere.
And that is worth more, isn't it?
Halo effect. Can you put that
We'll
in
ask
now?
Georgia to insert that.
Just insert that afterwards, okay?
And then you said one more thing that I want to go
Mhm.
back to. You also spoke at the LT-SIG.
Yes.
PCE. Now we love our abbreviations here. So
Mhm.
for those of you that think LT-SIG PCE, that's a
Okay.
pre-conference event.
So, LT-SIG is Learning Technology Special Interest Group. SIG, Special Interest Group. There's 16 in IATEFL. And PCE is pre-conference event. And what happens is this takes place the day before the main conference, where you just have a full day from each particular SIG or groups of SIGs, where they specialize in whatever the theme is at the time. So that's what it was.
I walked around. For those of you that like don't know this or have never done this, if you come and attend IATEFL, but you have a specific background, can be business English, can be learning technology,
Mhm.
could be literature,
Could be young learners.
can
it
be
could be
any of the
management.
16 SIGs that we have.
Mhm.
They have events, and it's basically well, I don't want to say classroom, it's a really fancy room where you are stuck with people with the same interest, the same background,
Mhm.
and you just be inspired.
Mhm.
And this sounds like okay, yeah, sure. But whenever I walk around during the PCE event, I'm always like, people are really happy. I mean, my classes after 4:00, you notice it's sort of a bit dying down,
Mhm.
but actually like enthusiasm coming out of all those
Mhm.
rooms until like quite late.
Well, this is the exciting thing about the pre-conference is that you are specifically working with and networking with people that are like-minded.
Yeah.
And everybody doing exactly the same thing. For instance, I used to be joint coordinator of the BSIG, and you had people that were strictly business English and all focused on the same thing. So the sharing, the ideas is wonderful.
Oh yeah, we started the show by saying that it's nice that you're here with like-minded people.
Mhm.
We all have the same links, like linking professions. But during the SIG, you really sit with people that have your specialization and not
Exactly.
just your profession,
Exactly.
and that is quite special.
Mhm.
So you said you talked about AI, of course.
Yes.
I think most of the people I talked about the SIGs talked about AI at some point.
Well, yeah,
What should we know about AI? What's the conclusion?
it's the devil.
It's the
No.
it's the worst.
Well, I have mixed feelings about AI. I think it's, as a computer nerd and a programmer myself, I think AI is wonderful. It's going to take over the world sooner than we know it. And it really has potential, and it's going to grow so fast, it's going to knock our socks off. Now, that being said, I think AI is a wonderful tool for teachers to be using to produce their materials and to save their time. Personally, I don't like bringing it into the classroom because I think it devalues the role of the teacher. I think it causes busy work. And I just think that we need to take a step back. And for instance, what my talk was about was critical thinking and using the Socratic method. And what this meant is that, we say that we need to teach them critical thinking, and yet we are using an AI that does all the thinking for them.
Yeah.
So sort of a little problem there. And we're getting a 2. We have a 2.
We have it too?
Yes.
Oh, we have it too.
We have a 2.
We have it too. Now, for those of you that are watching, there's stuff happening all around us. And especially on the first day, we are still figuring out our sign language. So I
Yes.
have someone winking at me. We have someone holding up a 2. And we have someone like frantically waving. They're all smiling. So it must be good. What do you
Yes.
think?
Well, I don't know. She's holding up one finger for 1 minute.
Which
Is that what that
finger is
meant?
the question?
Oh, sorry, I'm the comic relief here
I
today.
think the two mentioned that she too is really interested in AI.
Oh, I think so
Um,
too. Yes, too.
And I
too.
think it is something that we need to talk about and
Yeah.
think about.
And that's it. It's food for thought to get people thinking and thinking critically before they just jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
And with that, thank you so much to our guest, Anka. Thank you for being here, and we enjoyed you.
Love all around. How long do we have, Georgia, before the next one?
Thank you.
Ready to revolutionize your ELT courses? Introducing ITN Education's captivating videos, the key to transforming English language learning. With our expertly crafted content, we'll accelerate language acquisition like never before. Whether in class or online, our custom-built videos support your learning objectives. Discover ITN Education at IATEFL and elevate your ELT courses today. ITN Education, where learning comes to life.
Okay, hello, welcome back. And we are here and we are joined by Jason Anderson. And how do I say your name? I don't want to get it wrong. Jabba, brilliant.
Jabba Kamali.
How are you doing, guys?
Doing well, just enjoying the conference. Yeah.
And I'm doing well, but I've got a small problem with my voice. I slightly lost my voice due to having very bad hay fever and a cold.
But you're doing really well, so we'll just take it easy.
Jabba will answer most of the questions.
Absolutely. Okay, so you're doing a talk at IATEFL. Would you like to tell us what you're talking about?
Yeah, the talk title is Narrative Self-Observation, which is a new research tool and teacher development tool. It's a type of observation that we don't really observe. So that's the point. It's kind of paradoxical, but it is. So it's a type of observation that the teacher observes himself or herself. And we, as observers, we are called collaborators. We're going to help that person to find out more about himself, herself, his or her journey, and see how he can improve. That's the point.
Wow. Okay. So let's rewind a little bit. So first of all, how did you come up with the idea for this? Jabba.
Okay. Yeah. The idea came to me when I first wrote my article in the Teacher Trainer Journal. And in that article, I discussed the observation is more like a kind of story in Greek mythology. What's it called?
Procrustes bed.
Yeah, Procrustes bed. I cannot pronounce that one. I can just write it. So in that, it's a story that in Greek mythology that they put people on the bed and they think that everything should be based on that bed. So if they are bigger than that bed, they amputated the body. And if they the feet and hand, and if they were smaller, they stretched them to get there. So that was the idea of Greek mythology. So it happens in education, how when the observer sees a person, a teacher in the class, and just think that this is not the way I think is correct, and they want it to be done as the observer wants. So that's why we wanted to make it a bit more bottom up this time and say that what teacher thinks, not what the observers thinks. So this kind of framework is very much teacher oriented and not observer oriented. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, which this is actually lovely, and this is something that if you as a teacher know how to do, you can then apply this and learn from it, because I kind of think that the best feedback comes from seeing yourself, however that may look. So tell me a little bit about how somebody who has never done this before can go about doing it.
Yeah, do you want to add anything?
Let me try a little bit, yeah. So we've created some documentation, some guidelines that we'll share in our talk. And afterwards, we'll also have a link to them. If anybody can't be at IATEFL, then those links will be on my personal website, jasonanson.org.uk. But yeah, those materials will help teachers and guide the teacher and the collaborator through the process of narrative self-observation. which has about 8 different stages, but they can be adapted, modified if required. And at this stage, we're still in the process of developing it. We've written some articles on it, but we're still interested in refining it. And Jabba's done some research in his institution, which we'll be presenting the findings of in the talk. And we hope to do more research with people who come along to the talk here at IATEFL, but also people online who might be interested to have a look and find the materials and talk with us afterwards.
This is fantastic. And I'm really sorry, I was very rude. I didn't even ask where you're both based. Jason, where are you?
So, I'm based at the University of Warwick here in the UK.
And Jabba?
Yeah, Ibn Haldun University, Istanbul, Turkey. Yeah,
Okay,
very far
okay.
from each other.
So
But
how did you two meet then? How did
Yeah.
you start working together?
yeah, Jason very kindly accepted my invitation for a symposium 3 years ago, and we started a kind of friendship, if I can call it. And yeah, we had the ideas. I wrote to him once about the idea. He was interested, and then we started working together on that
Wow.
project. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. If I can ask you one more question, how does it differ from reflection?
Good question. Yeah. Do you want to go with that?
No,
Yeah. I cannot say it is different from reflection. It is more systematic reflection, we can say. So in reflection, we don't have a kind of framework of reflection, but here we have different types of frameworks. So we start with, it is a kind of identity reflect, not only reflection, but identity is involved. So the teacher should think about himself, the story of himself or herself as a teacher, even as a person, not a teacher. And then finding the focus of the observation within, through the story, not out of it. So it's a kind of the person of the teacher who is important. We talked a lot about theory and practice, but now we're focusing on the identity, the person, the agency of the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And when he understands it, we try to help him, kind of guided discovery, to elaborate on that, to search for that, explore it, and try to solve the problem. To be honest, we are going to pose the problem, not solve the problem. So this is a teacher who is responsible for solving that problem. We are there for a guidance, but we are supposed to, it's a kind of meaningful communication. So we are not supposed to tell them what to do. They should understand, but with our help as an observer, as a collaborator.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to add anything?
No, it's really good. And just to say that reflection can happen on many levels. And Jabba was just talking there about some of the deeper levels. If it's superficial, it's just a reflection on the lesson, what I did well, what I didn't do so well. But if it's more meaningful, more useful, it's going to go deeper. So it's a reflection on my beliefs and values as a teacher, and that links to my identity, who I am as a person in all of my lives.
I mean, this is lovely, and this is very often what we don't do, because we do kind of reflection in action and
Exactly.
then on action, but at a superficial level, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do we find the time for this, or how often should we do this? Because if we're teaching, whatever your context, imagine a secondary school, you've got a full-on schedule. How often can you actually do this?
That's a very true concern. It was our concern too. Of course, we have talked about it a lot because there are stages there. That's why we have it as a complementary to teacher observation, live observation. This is not supposed to take the place of teacher observation. But if we look at it as a kind of teacher learning, we can see that we have to find a place. It's like a CPD. It's like any kind of professional development courses. So they take courses for 1 month. Why not focusing on yourself more as a person, as a teacher, and becoming a better one? Today, Sarah Mercer talked about compassionate, and she said that it starts with ourselves. So as a teacher, if I cannot have a good relation with myself, I cannot make it with the students. So that kind of reflection on myself, on my identity, agency, I think is really helpful. So it is worth working on that. So I want to say that I know it is, it is time consuming, maybe more than teacher observation. But of course, we have some ideas. We can make it a bit shorter, like using audio recorders and other things. We can make it shorter, but I think it's a necessary part of CPD. A type of reflection. So it's not it's a way of doing observation, not the only way. That's
Yeah,
okay.
of course.
And just to add, if we've got time, in my practical terms, for the observer, because they're not observing a lesson, because they're actually facilitating the teacher self-observing, there's 3 meetings rather than 2 in a typical observation. but one of those is shorter. And in total, it's not necessarily any more time. For the teacher, there is more time there. But as Jabba has just said, if it's time devoted to your personal story, who you are, what you're doing with this group of learners, it can be enriching and therefore hopefully complement what we do rather than taking time away from it.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
the challenge is definitely an important one. So thank you for the question.
Oh, no, you're welcome. And is this, for anyone watching at home, is this something that any level of teacher can do, from a newly qualified teacher,
Really good
pre-service?
questions.
Or
I'm not sure yet.
Okay, so
Yeah,
brilliant. So
not
this is actually work in progress. And
Yeah, our proof of concept study worked with fairly experienced teachers from mid-career teachers. With pre-service and early career teachers, it may require some kind of modifications, or it may work as it is. We're just not sure about it yet. So that's one of the things we want to look at next.
absolutely. Okay. Well, this is wonderful. So we very much look forward to seeing the research evolve and potentially being involved with it.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, and all the best for
Thank you for the
tomorrow.
interview.
Thank
See you.
you.
Did you know the Royal Mile is actually 1 mile and 107 yards long? This bustling street connects Edinburgh Castle to the Palace of Holyrood House. Stroll down its cobbled streets, lined with shops, pubs, and historic landmarks like St Giles's Cathedral. Discover hidden gems in the closes and alleyways, each with its own unique history. The Royal Mile is more than just a street. It's a journey through the heart of Edinburgh's rich past. Don't miss it.
And we're back with, this time, Leandro. I keep saying it wrong, sorry. Leandro Palladino. Can you introduce yourself to the people watching?
Hello, everybody. Speaking to you from Edinburgh. I am Leandro Palladino. I am from Argentina. I'm a teacher, educator, academic manager in a multilingual school. You know what the life of teachers is like. We do lots of things.
Oh, yeah.
I'm an editor in a journal, the EAL journal, and a proud new joint coordinator of the special interest group for young learners and teenagers for IATEFL.
So just for me to get this straight, like, you have a school that you run, you are an editor of a magazine that you edit, and you are now also a SIG coordinator, which obviously takes no time at all. How do you do it?
Well, you know, we teachers, I think we're used to juggling responsibilities and different things. So
True,
yeah.
true, and lack of sleep, but it sounds like you're not getting any.
And I've got 3 children, so it's possible to juggle it all like that. Yes.
I'm already impressed. We haven't even started talking yet. You're here because you're doing a talk tomorrow.
Yes, I am.
Can you tell me a bit about your talk?
Yes, it's about strategies, now corpus informed and with a little bit of an AI tool here and there to help students move past that intermediate level that sometimes is so difficult to go past. You know, this idea that you do A1, A2, B1, and that's relatively quick to feel the progress, but then you get stuck and you find it difficult to feel as a student, and for the teachers as well, similar progress to what you felt while you were doing the earlier levels.
So how do we get to B2, C1, C2, advanced?
Exactly.
Advanced English. How do we do that?
Well, it's not easy, but I think the first step is to be informed about what we need to prioritize, for example, in terms of lexis, you know, rather than focus on individual words so much, because students are typically fascinating by difficult looking words, you know, they see the word serendipity and they want to know what it is, you know, and maybe they should instead be looking at new combinations of familiar words. So stuff like that. Yeah. And I happen to think that, well, I find that our profession is sort of a paradigm shift, as it were, because we've gone, I think, such a long way from thinking that teaching was about the words and the grammar and the pronunciation, that we could have gone over a little bit too much to the other extreme of so many models and constructs to look at, you know?
Yeah.
If you think of the word literacies or the word citizenship and how many adjectives can collocate with those models, like critical and digital and multimodal and intercultural, and you go to green issues and sustainability and gender issues, you know, younger teachers have so many models to look at, apart from
Yeah.
learning the basics of what it means to teach a foreign language, that I think we've come rather to an end of that pendulum. And I'm personally looking forward to seeing what sort of a happy medium perhaps we're going to be finding over the next few years in our profession.
Oh, true. With all the changes societally, as well as we keep talking about AI, but digital changes, but as well as societal changes in teaching. It'll be interesting to see what's happening next.
And don't get me wrong, I welcome the richness that comes with all these models. I work in some of these models myself, but I do see that, and well, that's the way that a paradigm shift is, I suppose. We go from one extreme to the other, and then
we find
see
a balance.
Middle of the road sort of thing. We find.
Getting back to your session, you said that getting past the sort of intermediate B1, B2, B levels, let's say, it's hard for students and it's hard for teachers. Can we focus on one of those, well, both actually, but one of those perspectives first? So you say students, it's easy. You're learning a language, you feel you're getting better. I started learning another new language, and I got really proud when I got to say those short A1 sentences, or sentences like, you know, I have a name, and it's, you feel good. But then you get to that stage that you can read a magazine, you can understand some TV, and that feels good, but you get stuck. What do we do for students from that perspective?
Because it can be frustrating for us as teachers as well, because of course you want your students to feel the progress, and if you see that they're not feeling it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be tackling first the three basic systems of grammar and pronunciation and lexis, and what we could do instead of what is traditionally done. And I have 3 people that have volunteered their time, and they recorded little videos for me, three people that are relatively well known in the IATEFL world, that are going to be sort of enriching the talk, and then we're going to put all the 3 threads together, and we're going to be looking at how the socio-pragmatics of language is important. That is not only grammatically wrong or right, but you know, what's appropriate and what's not, pragmatically speaking, as being much more important than a wrong preposition. And sometimes we get so obsessed with the wrong preposition that we might forget about how we can even make a fool of ourselves by making other kinds of mistakes that are not necessarily grammatical.
Yes, we do sometimes focus very much on grammar. You also said the word like serendipitous is fun to learn, but then if we start using it in every sentence, it doesn't necessarily make sense.
So infrequent, you know, so we're not going to say no to learning that out of a question of intrinsic interest, but the focus would have to be somewhere else. And well, spoiler alert, I'm sort of talking about most things that I'm going to be including in my talk, but I think the importance of linguistic creativity, I'm going to sort of be bringing that up towards the end, that from the low levels, but especially at higher levels, for students to understand wordplay, understand the world of linguistic creativity, which is so unique to human language. Apparently, other animal species have very sophisticated communication systems, you know, like bees and whales and lots of others, but apparently they lack that capacity of having fun with the language. They have fun in other ways. It's enough to see pigs rolling about in the mud, but not by using language in order to have fun. And I think that's one of the entry points for our students at higher levels, to feel that they are coming to terms with that post-intermediate level a bit more confidently.
For the people, and especially the teachers back home watching, do you have some practical things that they can, especially if they're not here, that they can do in their classroom tomorrow that will help with this?
Yes. I tell teachers, never finish a unit, a topic, a sequence on any topic without looking up linguistic creativity that can come with that topic. So you're doing the home, and you look up home jokes. You're doing the family, you look up the family puns. You're doing technology, and you look up technology memes, for example. And then you get the students looking that up rather than bring it yourself, because the students might not find it funny when we bring it. You know?
Oh, there's definitely
certainly if they
differences in humor. Yeah.
And if they don't understand it, I mean, if they don't have the linguistic elements to, I mean, humor never works if you don't understand where the humor lies. But I always tell teachers, if you work on the present perfect and the students don't get it the first time around, do you give up?
No.
Or do you go back to it time and time and time again and torture the poor students with the present perfect until they're C2? Well, the same goes with this richness that we've got in English with, homonyms. And there aren't so many of those in other languages. For example, Spanish, there is some of that, but not as much, of the homophone and the homograph thing that we've got in English that lends itself to such rich wordplay. So you start as a teacher by showing an example, but then you tell the students, okay, now you use your phones or your computers if they've got access to that.
Yeah.
You look up and combine the topic with the word joke, the topic with the word meme, the topic with the word, and then on Google, you can choose images or you can choose videos or you can choose text. And then once they're trained, the students know and they say, yeah, I know what you're going to ask next. That we finish the unit by looking up funny videos or examples of wordplay on the topic that we're doing.
Like a really good idea, because humor always works, I think. And I once heard that if you really understand a language, and not just a language, because language is just a means, but also sort of everything about it, like you said, the whole sort of completeness of that topic, that you should be able to understand comedy, because comedy shows in every language, they're usually fast-paced. They make references to societal things, news, but also to language.
It's often linguistic and schematic. It's, do you have the knowledge of the world, and do you have the knowledge of the words as well? So I think at low levels, I do it from the very beginning, but particularly higher levels, I think this is enjoyable, it's fruitful. And again, the idea that the students do it and not just us. So putting them in the role of the, language researchers, if you will, and the language explorers as a macro register, if you will, humor. Just like the language of newspapers is something else that you would do at higher levels, and understanding those specific registers is part of breaking through that intermediate plateau, as it's sometimes called. So is the case, I think, with language humor in a very broad sense. And sometimes not just humor, but I recommend, for example, the first few minutes of The Lion King, the beautiful Disney film.
Oh, yeah.
At the very beginning, there is the king and there is the brother, the mean brother, and they have a bit of a verbal duel that's not funny at all. On the contrary, they're arguing and they're fighting out their questions of power and authority. And there is a constant, there's a ping pong punning, as I think David Crystal will call it, that's not funny. It's really a way to enact the power issues that they've got, because they're brothers, but they're also king and subject at the same time.
Yeah.
So humor, language creativity for humorous purposes, but language creativity also for more serious purposes, with which there may be the question of face at play, face saving and face threatening ways of communicating.
I love that. But now we're talking Disney films. We're talking comedy shows. Normally, when we talk about getting past the intermediate levels, most students are a bit older. Does this also work for older students, like higher education, getting them to C1 level, C2 level?
Absolutely. Young and old, low level and high level. I love this. I don't know who I learned it from, this motto, which is do not grade the material, grade the task. So use the authentic material. Does it look difficult? Well, that's our job, to try to make the difficult accessible. So by scaffolding tasks that slowly lead students into understanding until they finally say, oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
So I think most of the things that we can talk about in teaching, it's a bit of a weak excuse sometimes to think, oh, but that's when they're older, that's when they're higher level. No, the challenge is to find the way to include those similar, because to some extent, it may be a bit dramatic, but it may be a bit too late if you wait too long. Take pronunciation, for example. If you let pronunciation errors go by, then students reach a high level and maybe they're very fluent, but they've got those, fossilized pronunciation problems that they can't eradicate because they were not tackled from the very beginning.
Habits, it's hard. So it's better to start early and get them right, get them to that intermediate level, and then use humor and creativity to get them past.
When I talk to directors and supervisors, I always say, don't make the mistake of thinking that the inexperienced teachers should go to the low levels, because that's often what we do. Okay, you're new in the profession.
You take the young ones.
You'll take the young ones or the low levels, and sometimes it's the other way about. You need very strong teachers and experienced teachers at those lower levels. I think more important to some extent than an intermediate level, and then again higher levels, ideally experience. So not a lot of experience in the teachers, perhaps more the intermediate than the very low or the very high, I would say.
Spoken like a true coordinator of the young learners, Sig. But I do think that's true. I've heard it for TV also, that in a lot of countries, getting into Sesame Street, for example, is how you start your career in acting, instead of it should be how you end it, because you sort of are that good that you can go for younger learners.
You need to have more resources, and
and that's important.
Yeah.
So you say your talk is about how to get past the intermediate level, but you're also making a point of saying, let's make sure that to get to that intermediate level, we need experienced, good teachers.
Yes.
And then we send the novices and the newbies to the intermediate levels.
Maybe like an A2 plus, B1, when the students already have some elements, but maybe they're not going to be asking very tricky questions yet, as they might when they're older. I don't know. This is a very crude overgeneralization.
Whenever you start generalizing,
attached to this, but I think very crudely put, that's always been my policy, and I think it helps the teacher. It's easier on the teachers when they haven't got either extremes when they're only starting out.
Yeah, because I do agree that the extremes are, I think, not the hardest, but definitely the most difficult and most important to do.
Yeah.
Okay, any other last tip for the people watching back home, other than comedy and Mufasa and Scar, which I love, Lion King. So other than Disney and watching comedy, what else could people from home do in their classes to get past that intermediate? I used to refer to it as the Netflix levels. They think they know it all, but they need to get past that. How do we motivate them to get that bit of extra?
Yeah. I think basically stay alert. This is maybe advice I've got. I'll be home watching something with my wife who's not a teacher, and I'll say, stop. I need that clip for Monday for my C1 class or whatever. So I think all of us teachers always have like that third eye or that third ear on, wherever you want to place it, in terms of looking at materials, and when you do, looking at these instances of power. So examples like that, just like The Crown, maybe the Netflix series, in which again you've got a queen and the sister, so they're sisters, and that's a symmetrical relationship, but there's also an asymmetrical component to it. So what happens with the sociopragmatics of those instances, where people that know each other quite well also have a role, another sort of role, and the language can be an enactment of is the relationship healthy or not, how you navigate because language is ultimately about that, how we navigate interpersonal relationship through words and through grammar and through pronunciation, which we want accurate, but more importantly than accurate, than sociopragmatically aware, not right or wrong, but to make our students sociopragmatically aware.
So
I think.
Language, but also communication, and making sure that we reach the purpose of our communication. And the tip then is never rest. Whatever you're reading, whatever you're watching, stay vigilant, stay alert, and use it and bring it to your classes. Because you're right. I mean, that's a joke, obviously, but you are right that all our everyday materials, they're fun, and that's what appeals to our students.
And I think the moment of satisfaction is when you get that student coming to class and say, I think that I found an example of what you were talking about. They laughed with the language, or I found this thing in the series, and isn't it an example of what we were talking about? And those are the hallelujah sort of moments where you feel I've done it, and the student out of their own accord, in their own time, found examples of what you were trying to preach in class.
Love that. Let's all aim for that.
Hello, I'm Daniel Sherry and I'm from Malta. Earlier today, I attended the Learning Technology SIG pre-conference event, which focused on tech-enhanced pedagogy for equity and critical thinking. The sessions as part of this pre-conference event focused on enabling people to think more critically about AI use. In fact, in my talk, I focused on sharing the results of a project in which we enabled young people to use technology but at the same time to think critically about it and about their own biases, their own assumptions and their own beliefs when it comes to a very important issue, the issue of migration, which, as we know, is a contentious issue because of what's happening in the world right now. So the pre-conference event and all of its different talks and sessions was trying to help the participants to think more critically about something that many of us are taking for granted.
Hello, and we are back. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, we are live from IATEFL in Edinburgh, and I'm delighted to be joined by my birthday twin. This is Derek Philip Shue. Derek, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It's an absolute pleasure. And this is not quite home, but it's not too far from...
It's not far at all, yeah. I'm up the road in Aberdeen, originally.
Just around the corner.
Just around the corner, exactly. Yes.
Oh. So, Derek, for anyone that hasn't met you or seen you yet, what do you do for IATEFL?
I am the editor of Voices magazine, which members receive every other month as part of their membership. It's now a digital magazine, so it'll be sort of emailed to them every other month. And yeah, it contains all sorts of ELT related things in there.
Oh, so what's been running? What's the theme that's been running through, or themes that have been running through in the past couple of issues?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Of course, like sustainability, climate change. That's a big thing. Not just in terms of teachers and their classrooms and their schools, also for IATEFL as an organisation as well. So there's a lot of that being talked about, and of course AI. I mean,
yeah, that's the big thing, isn't
absolutely
it? All
everywhere.
about AI, yeah.
It really is. So there has been a lot, and I think there's people talking about like AI in the classroom, and a little bit of sort of anxiety around how teachers can sort of implement that successfully and ethically within the classroom as well. So. And obviously, like tech as well. I mean, that's big, and their teacher wellness and student well-being,
which is more and more prominent.
Absolutely,
thankfully.
yeah, definitely,
very necessary.
Definitely. And there's always stuff about like teacher CPD, professional development, and that kind of thing as well. So quite a wide range. Yeah.
So who is writing all of this? It's surely not just you.
Everybody.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of our members, they contribute to Voices. Some are repeat contributors as well, which is great. They're always welcome back. We do like members as well who have never written and never been published in Voices or anywhere else for that matter.
Okay.
So I'm always quite keen to encourage them as well.
Absolutely. So do you need to be a member of IATEFL to submit to Voices?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So we have had non-members before. I always encourage them to join. And sometimes there's various reasons as to why they may not be members at that particular point in time. But sometimes they do join later. But you don't have to be. You don't have to be.
And if I'd never written anything before and wanted to but was unsure, is there any guidance that's provided?
Yes, well, we do have general guidelines for contributing to Voices. It tells you what you would need to know. But if people are unsure, just email me, because we have a whole process that we go through. And that starts with maybe the contributor has an idea of what they want to write about, but it's maybe not quite sure how to express it. A lot of people are writing in English, which is not necessarily their first language. So that's challenging as well. So, but don't worry about it, because that's why we are here. We're here to help people. The magazine is called Voices, so I mean we want to give that opportunity to everybody to actually have their voice heard, and that's the point. So yeah, they can get in touch with me. They might have a little summary of what they want to write about. We can start there, and then we can just sort of build up and take it through from there.
This is fantastic. So even if you just thought, oh, this is something I'd like, I kind of know the area, but I'm not too sure, then you can actually help people focus.
Yes. Yeah. So sometimes somebody might come to me and say, well, I've got these ideas, choose one. And I say, well, I'm not necessarily going to choose one. What do you think is best? What resonates with you as the teacher or educator, whatever the case might be? Where is their passion as well? And then that's what you would pick. But yeah, they get the idea and we expand from there.
Okay,
So
so it's really supportive.
Yeah, we try to be as supportive as we can.
That's
because
lovely.
it's not always an easy process. It can be quite difficult to get your name in print. But that's what we want to try and help people accomplish at Voices. Yes.
And I think it's also just encouraging teachers, please do submit, because practitioners are what we need, I think, to hear from as well in English language teaching. And if a teacher is doing any research or wants to, and then to tell us how you've done it, that could be super interesting.
Absolutely. And this goes out to a wide range of members all over the world. So somebody somewhere will read what you've written. So maybe it's about some issue that you've managed to overcome in your classroom. It's specific to your context, but actually might be relevant to somebody else. And then so they can take that and say, okay, I'm going to try that out in my classroom and see what effect it has. So it can be all about starting a conversation. And these people are maybe thousands of miles apart, but then they can communicate. They could actually talk to each other because your email address is on your article. So you could actually start collaborating as well.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so if anyone's watching at home and thinking, all right, that's a bit of me, I'm going to give it a go, what should they do?
They should email me,
Okay.
basically. So I can be contacted at editor@iatefl.org. So if they email me, we can just get the process started. It may be that they have an article already. That's fine. We can have a look. Or it might just be an idea. We can take it from there.
And it's not super scary. It doesn't have to be 20 million pages long, does it?
No, please don't send me something that's
No.
20 million pages long.
No one wants that.
That would be super scary. It's not scary. It's not scary. Generally, we can have short articles, which are sometimes about 800-900 words. They fit on a page. Usually, it's about 1,200 words. That's like 2 pages of the magazine with a couple of photos. If there's no photos, then maybe 1,500 to 1,800 words thereabouts. So it's manageable.
It is. I mean, it's kind of, it might sound a lot, but really it's enough to say what you need to without having to stress too much about writing, an awful lot. So
exactly.
It's quite nice. And how long does it usually take from submission to publication?
It's probably a couple of months thereabouts. But often for some contributors, if they have actually submitted early, then that's going to be a bit longer because we won't necessarily get to their part of the process until the deadline has passed. So it could take a little bit longer, but once that deadline is there, 2 months. Basically,
which I mean, in the world of publishing and articles,
it's not long.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, that's really, really good.
Yeah.
And is there a deadline coming up at the moment?
Yes, although our post-conference issue, the deadline is the 21st of April.
Okay.
But that issue is full. So the next available deadline is in August. So it's the 25th of August, and that would be for November. So there is still some space in the November issue. We've got space for maybe 3 more articles thereabouts. Otherwise, we'd be into next year as well, which I'm still very happy if somebody wants to write into the new year.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
No problem at all.
Absolutely. So yeah, don't hesitate. Just do it. I think
please
is,
do.
is the thing for
and
that.
It's not scary. Yeah, we're here to help everybody, and it goes through this whole process as well. So if you're worried about the writing, don't, because I'll be there to support. We have a copy editor as well who's there to check everything, and it's all there. It's all in place, and there's really nothing to be worried about. Yeah.
So do it. Don't hesitate. Throw caution to the wind and just absolutely go for it. I
Yeah.
think would be the advice from today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before I let you go,
Yeah.
what are you looking forward to about the conference?
Oh, I always look forward to the conference, actually. It's meeting everybody and meeting new people as well, actually, which is great. And there's actually quite a lot of new people. I do like the sessions as well. I've been to some great sessions already. Sarah Mercer earlier on.
All about well-being.
Yes, compassionate teaching.
Oh,
It's great.
yeah.
It's really good. So that sort of thing is very inspiring. Yeah. And the exhibition as well. Great networking opportunities.
Isn't it just you just
Yeah.
walk around and you bump into people that you know
I
and
know.
or not know and start up a
Exactly.
conversation and
Yeah.
absolutely
It's great.
fantastic. It really, really is. Oh, Derek, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you.
And don't forget, if you're interested, well, just try it. Give it a go. You won't
Yeah.
regret it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, well said.
Okay, you're welcome. Derek, thank you.
Thank you.
So hi, I am at Learning Technologies PC event, and there is a lot about AI, about the way it is changing our lives, our teaching and learning. And there are a lot of debates about the future and the future of humanity and the future of our students and teachers. There are a lot of really useful links. And what I specifically like that today's event is all about fostering critical thinking with the help of AI. So I reckon that's a very good angle of looking at the AI technologies that we also use even with young learners and preschoolers.
Brilliant.
Yes, brilliant.
Hi, and we're back, and I'm here with Brilliant. Am I saying it right? Yes.
Brilliant, yes.
Okay. And between all the speakers and then we have delegates and we have plenaries, we keep talking about one group specifically that's very important to us, and that's first timers. And I'm here with a first timer. Could you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself?
Of course. Yeah. Hello, I'm Bülent. I'm coming from Turkey, from Medipol University, Istanbul Medipol University, located in Istanbul. This is my first time. That's a great experience for me. Sessions are going, and I'm attending all of them. Just trying to get the best out of them.
Attending all of them?
Yeah,
as many sessions as you can, you mean?
Yeah, as many as I can. All of them mean yes.
Wow.
And I'm trying to get the best out of them, and they are all, very informative and practical. So it's a great experience so far.
What made you want to come to IATEFL?
So actually, I'm a kind of English instructor, teaching at university, and it would be I thought it would be a great chance to see and find out what's happening. As it like what's happening or the latest, so not to miss anything new. To learn about the latest in the sector, in the field. So that would be, I thought great. But actually, I lived here for a while in 2018 in Edinburgh, in Leith, and I missed Scotland a lot. So that was a great chance to come back again.
So you wanted to do something with professionalism. You've already studied in Scotland and Edinburgh, I combined the two, nice. So first timer, but not a first timer to Edinburgh. What are you thinking of the conference so far? First impressions?
It's so professional, so organized. So there are a lot of different topics to attend, learn. I find it very valuable just because, you can choose from a wide range of topics according to your interest.
Yeah.
So that is a great thing to, being given a chance to choose.
Yeah.
So it's not just compulsory to, it's not dictating the topics. You choose between them. That's that's the thing I favorite most.
Are you finding it easy to choose? Because I think for every round we have like at least 20 sessions to choose from. Are you finding it easy to pick sessions you want to attend?
No, it's very difficult. there are, you know, very, very just quality ones. So I'm very picky. So, you know, just spending at least 30 minutes to choose between. So it's very difficult. No,
but
not really easy.
It's good to take those choices seriously.
Yes. Very, very cool.
And do you have any tips for first timers to Edinburgh? Because if you've been here, and especially if you studied here, then you know the city, because students know everything, I guess. So what's a good tip for people who are here or are going to Edinburgh? What should
The first thing to watch out, the weather. Just it's you know, just very changeable. So yesterday I mean, so it was very great. So we just got tricked on that.
Yeah.
So we came with our coats and just packed a lot of, you know, thick clothes. But right now they are all useless. So weather is great. So mind the weather a lot.
Yeah.
Life is great here, by the way. People are very warm, very helpful. So I found it the first time I came here also. I found it very, very welcoming. The people were always helpful. By the way, I did my CELTA here. I completed my CELTA here, and my tutors, all of the people were very, very friendly. So if anybody has a chance, you know, I recommend them not missing it.
So if you have a chance, come here. Definitely for the people, watch out for the weather.
Yeah, the first thing.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a good tip.
Should I go on? Just put some other tips.
No, well, if you have another tip, one last tip.
The Edinburgh General.
Yeah.
Right. Food, of course.
Oh, good one. Food.
Yes. There are a lot of spice in them. So if you are not very just accustomed to these kind of foods, you need to just go for a kind of recommendation from the restaurants or the ones who cook it. So
yeah,
it would be great if you just can get some help from the ones who cook it, because it's very spicy. So you can't just spoil your body or some other stuff.
That's the expression. No, but that's a good
I'm
one.
Suffering, by the way, right now. It's been 2 days since I came here, and so just my stomach is a bit here.
The food is a bit like heavy, I guess. Dense.
Heavy, yes.
So definitely a good tip to, when you're here, sort of explain where you're from, what your preferences are, and ask for recommendations to ease into all the haggis and black pudding and all the other good things that are here at the hotel breakfasts.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's great. Edinburgh is great. I recommend everyone to come.
Good. Final
and see it.
sentence.
Yeah.
Edinburgh is great. Come over.
Yeah.
And we're back. And this time with our last speaker of the live stream. I'm here with Javid Javari, if I'm saying it correctly.
Jafari, yeah.
Jafari, okay. Can you introduce yourself to the people watching from home?
Hi, good afternoon. It's nice to meet you. My name is Javid Jafari, and I'm coming from Exeter. And today I'm going to have a presentation.
Oh yes, you're going to have a presentation in like half an hour.
Yeah, in half an hour. Yeah,
that
that's
must be
right.
crazy stressful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So we'll keep this one short so you can really focus and prepare on your talk. But we really wanted to talk about your talk because your talk's about something I think is very important and quite special.
It is.
Could you introduce it to?
Yeah, actually, I have done a research as part of a master's degree dissertation last year at the University of Exeter, and I did my research on the opportunities and challenges of online English learning in the context of Afghanistan. As you might know that women's education, their access to education have been restricted, highly restricted since 2021, and that's why I wanted to gather the experience of the female students in Afghanistan about the challenges they face in accessing online education. And yeah, I have done that research as part of my master's degree dissertation, and today I'm going to present that in the conference.
Lovely. Now, before we get to the opportunities and challenges for Afghani women, as you said, I hope everybody is aware of this, but for the people who have missed this, Afghanistan has changed a lot in the past couple of years.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And now under Taliban reign, a lot of things are not possible for women anymore. Could you talk us through what exactly is and is not allowed?
Well, to be honest, it has been highly restricted. I mean, access to education, access to public life, access to anything, I would say. It's like, for example, women are not allowed to go outside the house. It doesn't matter if it's going to be for job, if it's going to be for education, especially for education. Women in Afghanistan at the moment, they're allowed to have the primary education up to year 6. Beyond that, they're not. It has been 4 years. And this is the same as with their employment. So they're not allowed to go, to be employed as far as it's like only, I think, for midwifery and nurses at the hospital. That's I think, the only thing that they are allowed. But beyond that, especially in remote areas, their movement have been restricted highly. I mean, they cannot like go outside. They cannot go to their sibling houses. They cannot have access to public life.
I've read online they're not even allowed to be seen from outside, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. To be honest, yeah, they have been like advised that if they're planning to go outside, they have to cover their face. They have to wear burqa, something that's we say in our
and
context.
then only if they have a job for which they haven't found someone else yet. Like, so in the last 4 years, women have not been allowed to leave the house, except, like you said, a few exceptions for kind of jobs. But other than that, you're not allowed to go to school. You're not allowed to do groceries or have fun, leave the house.
Yeah, actually, they are allowed to go outside the house, but it's risky. Some women, they cannot find it safe. It's not safe for all, especially in remote areas. Again, in rural provinces or rural estates, it's not safe. So, but in major cities like where I come from, it is like women go outside to do the groceries, to do, for example, but their public life have been affected. They cannot go to park, for example. They cannot go to gym. They cannot exercise. They cannot ride the bicycle. This is their public life has been affected like in a negative way. But in terms of education, as I mentioned, they're allowed to have access up to year 6. Beyond year 6, they're not allowed. Before that, I mean, in previous government, we had some like institutions. I mean, apart from the formal schooling, I mean, boys and girls, they had to go to English language schools, private tuition courses, but now they have been all closed for women. It is open for men, for boys. They can have it access as normal as it used to be in the past, but it's not the case with
it's
women.
Closed off for women.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
the one solution when it comes to education after year 6 is then online education.
That's true, and that's why I wanted to explore their experiences, that how they find it challenging when they have access to education and through online mode.
So what are challenges when it comes to online education?
Actually, if you're talking about the context of Afghanistan, someone might think that there would be a lot of challenges, and that is true, to be honest. because the people who are living in major cities, again, they might have access to some sort of proper electricity, they might have access to internet, a stable internet connectivity, but that is not quite the case with those people or those female students who are living outside the major cities, in rural areas, in villages, for example.
So in rural areas, there's no education because there's no online and they're not allowed to leave the house after year 6.
It might be, but it might be very rare. It's not like something as good as it might be in major
in the
cities.
city. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why I wanted to explore their experiences of the female students, that what challenges basically do they face when they're receiving online education.
And what are those?
So the main challenge was the technological barriers. So some of them, they even do not have the devices. That is a significant barrier for or challenge for the female students there. And another is that in some part of the country, there is no electricity. If there is, it's for a very limited, short time during 24 hours in a day. For example, in some part, I interviewed a girl. She said that they had only 3 hours of electricity in 24 hours, and that's not sufficient.
No.
So they can't do anything. For example, if your class is not at that time, you're gonna miss it.
Yeah.
Even if the class is like on live. So this was the main challenge, and beyond that, we had some other the support from the family, the support from the institutions. Unfortunately, some of the students, they said that the support they received from the institutions, which they are affiliated to, were not significant or sufficient. So sometimes it made it even impossible for them to have the classes or to join their classes. And the family, definitely, their families, they do not trust online education. That's a big issue in the context of Afghanistan, because they believe that there's no use in online education. They say, okay, if it's not ultimately leading you to a degree, to a physical degree, physical classes, then there might not be any use of this education. That is because the concept of the common people, unfortunately, it might be, that might be true. So these were the main challenges when I had my interviews with my participants.
How many women did you interview for this?
Well, actually, there was a significant limitation. I had interviewed 8 people from 2 different universities, but the universities one was based in Qatar, that it used to be in Afghanistan previously, and the other was also an online education, an online university. So my number of participants were, quite low, 8.
Yeah, but I think that says something also.
It does, yeah, it does, because not only that I collected the perspective of those 8 students, female students, that was, I would say, like a sample from the whole university, from their whole classes, because they usually have the discussions that surrounding their, like, the issues, the challenges they face at the university in whole.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, you're right in that case.
And a bit more uplifting, because I need to hear something uplifting now. This is all very grim and sad. You said there's also opportunities. Is your study focused on challenges and opportunities?
That's right.
What are the opportunities here? What can we do?
The greatest opportunity was that they're having access to education. That's a great opportunity itself. If it wasn't online, they didn't have access to education. I have in my siblings, I have my 2 sisters. If there is no online education to them, it means there's no education for them.
So online already means there is something, otherwise there was nothing.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's the only practical way, or the only practical approach now at the moment for those who are receiving. Those who do not have access to it, that is
There's
miserable.
nothing.
That's really so sad. But those who have access to online education, this is a greatest opportunity for them. It's a privilege, actually, to be honest. That was the first one. And the second is that some of them, they were really happy about at the meantime, while some were not happy about the family support, their siblings support, some were so happy. Their perspectives, their thoughts were so positive. Their family had supported them. They did everything to settle everything. Their online classes, purchased for them the devices, and had the Wi-Fi connection for them. And they're so happy about that as well.
But that sounds lovely, but also horrible that you're then dependent on, if you have electricity and devices, and if you have the support of your family, you can get an online education. And if you lack any of those three things, there's nothing.
That's not possible. That's not practical. Yeah, that's right. So
what can we do? Because obviously this is not okay. So what can we do?
I think we could, as educators, as a globe in whole, we can support them. To be honest, I had lots of conversations with different organizations, people. What we can do is that immediately, I think we can do two things. One is that we can have a direct interactions with them. We can have an online classes, for example. We can support them. Even it doesn't matter if it is going to be a very small number of people and a very small number of students. If anyone, a teacher, for example, let's consider someone is interested in the IATEFL, who can manage to have weekly 1 hour for example, 10 students. That's going to bring a significant change to the lives of those 10 students. This is the first thing, that we can have a direct interaction, the direct connection with the students, with the learners. And the second thing is that we can go through an indirect way. That's going to be through organizations which are already working, which are already active in education sector in Afghanistan. I'm sure some people may not know about this, but there are still, right now there are some organizations which they provide access to education, and they might need help in terms of teachers, in terms of, for example, funding. If you could do, for example, if someone is not interested, or someone cannot do a direct interaction, a direct contact with the students, with the learners, they can do it in indirect way, like support other organizations
that do have this.
Yeah,
very
exactly.
good. Yeah. Okay. So for everyone who's watching this, who feels like me, that we need to do something, you're saying, first of all, if you have contacts, teach. Whatever knowledge we can spread, the better, and just teach. If we don't have those contacts ourselves, go look up those organizations, help them, fund them, give them money, give them your time, give them anything that we can make a change. At the very least, discuss this in our classes, I guess, with our students if we can, and if they're old enough, because I think people need to be aware of this.
Exactly. That's why today I'm here.
In that case, any last things you want to say before your session? Because it's quite soon.
To be honest, there would be a lot of things to be said, but what I really want to say is that I'm calling on all educators around the globe. I know it is now the case of Afghanistan, but they are human beings. They're, especially the women there, they have been deprived their access to the public life, to education, which is the primary right of a person. So to do whatever they can do, at least support them, help them to learn. That's what they can do at the moment. That could be easily done through online education, online teaching. That's so easy. There are still, if anyone browses, for example, on the internet, they may find some organizations which they deliver online courses, and anyone who is interested to support, that is the way that we can do.
So a call to action. We can't let this happen. So educators around the world, get up and do something about this, because it is unacceptable. I agree.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. It was nice to see you.
Definitely.
Ready to revolutionize your ELT courses? Introducing ITN Education's captivating videos, the key to transforming English language learning. With our expertly crafted content, we'll accelerate language acquisition like never before. Whether in class or online, our custom-built videos support your learning objectives. Discover ITN Education at IATEFL and elevate your ELT courses today. ITN Education, where learning comes to life.
Wow, I can't believe it, Anke. It's 5 o'clock already. Where has that gone?
Time flies when you're, well, I can't say having fun after just the interview I just did, because it's horrible. But we started the show saying we want to learn. I want to learn.
Absolutely.
And I'm always inspired. And I don't know, we went from indigenous tribes in Canada and sustainability to education to Afghani women. And I don't know, I feel like full. My head's so full at the moment.
A lot to process with that, I think, definitely.
Yes.
What an afternoon! Wow, we've had everything, a variety of speakers, and we've got 3 more days of this.
I love it. I already look forward to it. There is one point on the agenda that we need to address. Could you explain it while I go grab something?
Yes, certainly. So if anyone's watching, I think they'll remember that last year we were joined more with Georgia, but now Georgia has actually taken on a new role, and she is the head of everything. And what we did do last year is we said goodbye to Sean.
And rightfully so. I mean, after everything he's done, it was important. I think all 3 of us felt it was important to give that the main focus.
Yes.
But in focusing on Sean, we neglected to do something very important.
We did. And so we're now taking the opportunity to do that.
She is now tied behind her laptop, and we do need someone to push that button to end this live stream and let you guys go in a bit.
So do you know what?
And watch the plenary.
I'll swap places. So if I can ask Miss Georgia to kindly come and take a seat up here.
And maybe you can go so she can point out which button to press so the plenary starts.
Yeah.
Because
I'll see you tomorrow, but
obviously
we'll
you're
wait
here for our
Georgia's
brilliant
initiation.
company and our guests, but we're all here also for the plenary. And that's going to be live after this. But of course, we can't just let this go. This is a charity, and everybody here is volunteering, and there's voluntary gigs like mine and Nikki's that is mostly fun, but there's also people that dedicate a lot of their time. And Georgia, please take a seat. We did not tell her. This is she's surprised. Please, honey, sit down. This is truly life. And as I said, there's people that genuinely put in a lot of time in making everything happen, and Georgia has taken on that role. And that's why we felt it's very, very important that we, after having kicked out Sean, basically, we need to crown our new queen. So, honey, I'm ready for my coronation. Thank you very much, girls. Thank you very much. These truly means a lot. She did not see this coming. No, I did not see it coming. But it so matches your jewelry today. I'm really glad we did it today because you're dressed for it. Like, she's dressed for it every day, by the way, but you're dressed for it now. Like, even the ring matches.
So the funny thing is that the girls were asking me about my necklace today. I had no clue that this was going to happen. So that's part of our IATEFL community, really.
Oh, yeah. And she thought we were being difficult when we were like, but why aren't we closing the show together? And why aren't you up here with us? And she's like, oh, Anka and Nikki again. But this is why, honey. We love you.
Thank you very much. I love
You're now crowned our queen. And with that, coronation moment, I think it's good to wrap up for day 1 of the conference.
Honored. And can I just say the comments? Oh, I forgot that I now have a microphone. So I must say that the comments, you girls did not witness the fantastic community we have online. So we had people commenting from Argentina, Peru, Saudi Arabia, Colombia, we had what else? Costa Rica, we had Germany, we had Italy, we had Brazil, so Madrid, Barcelona. So we had so many different countries, and this community is absolutely fantastic. Now, of course, somebody asked me online, who is this person?
Oh,
yes, Anka, what do you know?
I know nothing except that this cute guy with the tartan hat and obviously the kilt has a nice ribbon saying IATEFL, because if we're going to Scotland, our teddy is not enough. We need a Scotsman. It's always a bit like, I can't say I need a Scotsman, like, and my boyfriend will not like me if I say on live stream I need a Scotsman, but we felt like people would need a Scotsman, so we have an IATEFL Scotsman. The question is, what do we call him?
That's a very good question, Anka. And that gives me a fantastic idea to ask everybody watching us from home, what name would you give to our new IATEFL pal? Now, This is part of our merchandise for our charity. It is, of course, here limited edition in IATEFL Edinburgh. And, maybe we might do a giveaway. Who knows? So if you're watching us from home, let us know, what name do you think our new friend can have? All right. So are we ready to end the first live, girls?
No, but yes, we should. My head is full, and I think people are waiting for that plenary. That was absolutely brilliant. I've heard everybody say it was absolutely brilliant. So even I can't wait to watch it.
That's very, very, very true. So thank you very much for joining us. Now, remember, over the next 3 days, we will be here live, broadcasting from 3 to 5 p.m. from the IATEFL Conference in Edinburgh. Now, I must say, we are in the exhibition hall. So if you are actually in Edinburgh, just please come and say hello. We have got a fantastic sofa. We have got treats here. Just come and say hello. We would love to have you around. All right. And that's the end of the live show. And 3, 2, 1, we're ready to rock and roll. Thank you very much, everybody.
Nikki, push that button.
I'll probably have to.